expensive, the yolk contains more of this cholesterol. So avoid eating that. You can eat the white, but not the yolk. Okay. Lipids have forms. That's what they've said. It has forms. One of these is the neutral fats, or we term that as triglycerides. So it's made up of, say, 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol. Now, these triglycerides are made up of, say, they are held together by an ester bond. So, what holds these triglycerides together? It's held by an ester bond. Yeah, the word tri means it's made up of 3 fatty acids in 1 glycerol. So this is very, very common lipid, the most common lipid. Now, what is this for? This is for heat loss and protection. So, for, say, of course, this is a long-term use, say, a long-term reserve energy for living things. It's long-term, okay? Unlike the glycogen, it's short-term only for energy use. But this fat, or neutral fats, it's a long-term source of energy. In fact, say 1 molecule of glucose can give you only around 36, or say, a net of 36 ATP molecules for 1 glucose molecule. Now, however, if one fat molecule is broken to be used as energy, it could give you more than 100. So it is around 3 times more. It generates 3 times more of its energy than glucose. Okay, so that is how efficient fat is in terms of energy source. It gives you 3 times more of that energy needed. Okay. Now you have say these neutral fats can be of 2 types. You have the saturated and the unsaturated fatty acids. Now you say saturated fatty acids, this is made up of single bonds. Single bonds. And of course, the longer fatty acids that we have here, example of single bonds, like for example, butter, cheese, lard, margarine. So it's made up of saturated fatty acids. It's made up of single bonds and several hydrogen atoms. And it is said to be solid at room temperature. So this is room temperature, 20 degrees Celsius, and this is solid at room temperature. Okay? So, like for example, this one, the fats here, saturated, it's made up here. Oh, the cake. It's solid at room temperature because this is made up of butter. The drinking butter on cake. So, now this one may also cause clogging or plaques in walls and vessels. That's why it's not good to eat more of this food. So that causes clogging, encourage build-up of plaques in walls and vessels because this is solid at room temperature. Okay? So you long for that food. Lamig kayo. But remember, this encourage build-up of plaques in the walls and vessels. Now we have a very good fat. We call that this as the unsaturated fatty acids. It is made up of double or triple bonds. Now it's only a short fatty acid made up of short fatty acid chains. And why it is good fat? Because this is liquid at room temperature. So, like for example, olive, plant sources is olive, peanut, mga corn oils, mga oils. Now, by the way, corn. Now, the margarine actually, and also the butter, it's actually partially hydrogenated. It's not good anymore. This is processed. Margarine and butter comes from unsaturated fatty acids. The good fatty acids is turned into bad fatty acids. So it becomes now our butter and margarine. So may muna silang saturated, tanggalan sila og hydrogen. Or say, tanggalan sila og say from double or triple bonds, tanggalan siya bond by a machine, then pulihan og hydrogen. So muna tawag partial hydrogenation. So that the liquid will become solid-like. So na ito siyang turn into bad one. Lami siya pero turn into bad. And of course, para magamit siya sa cooking, baking, and then sa food preparation. Okay? So, that, like this one, margarine substitute and butter, which comes from the good one, unsaturated fatty acid, but it's now turned into saturated fatty acids. Look at that. Is that your tummy or your back? So, what is the thick layer in women? As in likod? Those are fat deposits. Excess carbs and maybe excess intake of fats. Now, another form of lipid, aside from neutral fats or triglyceride, is the phospholipids. Now, phospholipids, you have the word phospho, meaning bonded. It's a phosphate group. It's phosphate group bonded with lipid. So this is actually phospholipids is made up of our cell membrane consists of two layers of these phospholipids. So we have this so-called phospholipid bilayer, our cell membrane. And it is said to be amphipathic. Amphipathic meaning it's made up of the water lover, which is the phosphate, and the one that hates water, which is the lipid group. So you have now the lipid bonded with the phosphate group. So this is a modified triglycerides with two fatty acid chains and one phosphorus containing group. So it has with polar heads. The head is said to be polar. Why? Because it's made up of phosphate. And the non-polar, which is the tail, this is the lipid group. Now the phosphate group in head attracts water. And of course ions in cell membrane, and that regulates the transport. Because of course the tail part doesn't like water, but the head likes water. So this layer in the membrane, later on we'll discuss this in our cell parts and functions. This contributes the transport of small molecules like water in the cell. Another form, we have steroids. Now steroids are lipids made up of solid alcohol with no fat-like properties. These are lipids. They are said to be fat-soluble and contain little oxygen, mga steroids. So, it contains solid alcohol with no fat-like properties. So, that's like fatty acid. Okay? So, example, cholesterol. From animal products, cholesterol come from animal products. So, cholesterol is a component of the cell membrane actually. Now, you may, when you hear the word cholesterol, that creates a negative, say, connotation to us because we think that all cholesterol are bad. But actually, cholesterol is very, very important. It's a raw material for vitamin D synthesis and other steroid hormone synthesis. Like for example, the production of estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, cortisol, and aldosterone. These are very, this is a reproductive hormones, which is steroid by nature. So, and the precursor molecule for this is the cholesterol. So, kung wala cholesterol, it cannot synthesize no estrogen, no progesterone, no testosterone. And of course, you have the cortisol, the stress hormone, and the aldosterone. Okay. Now, manufactured asa ni siya? In the liver and most abundant in brain, attaches the protein to form lipoprotein before it can circulate. Cholesterol. So it is manufactured in the liver, and it is said to be most abundant in the brain. So you can have it. This is now this one. If this is the phospholipid bilayer in our membrane, we have this cholesterol that creates more space here. That creates more space for the passing of small and uncharged particles. So you can see also here the cholesterol in the blood constituent in the blood. Okay. So we have lipids bonded with proteins. We call that mga lipoproteins. Actually, these lipoproteins are lipoproteins are the transporters or mga vehicles for cholesterol. So we have these different vehicles for cholesterol. We have high density lipoproteins and low density lipoproteins, or we have the HDL and the LDL. So ang HDL is made up of more protein and less lipid. It is commonly good as the good cholesterol because it's made up more mainly of protein and less lipid. And that brings cholesterol to the liver for elimination. So it takes cholesterol from the plaques. So from the plaque to the liver, dalawa niya sa liver ang cholesterol. Gikan sa plaque. When it rolls sa HDL. That's why we have a required HDL percentage. Because that helps remove the extra cholesterol, which is present in the plaques. Simog ka mga say sige birthday, birthday na, sige mo cake, then mga chicken skin, so we have all those cholesterol accumulation, and that creates plaque. Lamian pagignain hatas o butter, cheese, mga saturated fatty acids, so that contributes to plaque formation. And if we have sufficient HDL, then there is no problem actually. When you are still young, okay pa atong HDL. But when we grow older, that will be decreased. Especially when there is already menopausal or menopause na. So, ning kupos na. So, meaning, decrease na ang imuhang transport vehicle for cholesterol. Unang dili na ka pwede magtigulang na gani or menopause na, avoid eating those cholesterol-rich foods because your transport molecule is already decreased. So, you have, say, this takes or gets or takes cholesterol from the plaque and bring that to the liver for elimination. So, i-eliminate. So, kung sige ra pug kagkuan, sige ra pud ang daghan pud kaayo ipang butang na pud ipang dan-ok dito sa liver, then mag-fatty liver na pud ka. So, you need again another LDL. Ang low density lipoprotein, sometimes it's called bad. It's made up of more lipid and less protein. It carries more of these lipid molecules. Cholesterol, daghan iyang i-carry. So, from the liver to the cells. Kuhaon niya na, gidanok dito, gidump na cholesterol from the liver, dalhon niya sa cells for metabolism. So, ang kakuan ani kay kaning LDL, kinahanglan siya mosulod sa cell. So, muagi siya sa iyang specific receptor nga present sa atong cells. Now, if you have less receptor for that LDL, ang mahitabo, it cannot get inside the cell and dili ma-metabolize ang imuhang cholesterol inside the cell. Di siya kasulod. Kinahanglan mo siya musulod with the cholesterol for metabolism. Basic, di ba? Ang cholesterol needed for estrogen, progesterone, testosterone production. Now, if dili na siya kasulod sa cell, ang mahitabo, kay nga naman, kay wala na kay receptor for LDL. So, mahitabo, magdaghan na imuhang cholesterol sa blood vessels. So, muna na mag-hypertensive na ka. Increase na yung pressure, mag-hypertensive na ka. Stroke ang resulta. Okay? So, it becomes bad. No? It becomes bad when it does not. So, that becomes bad already. So, accumulate ni siya sa blood vessel walls kung dili siya makasulod sa cells for metabolism. Once makasulod ni sa cell, ang LDL, i-degrade ra na siya sa cell. Dayon, ang katong cholesterol nga iyang gibitbit, mao na to'y gamiton for synthesis of reproductive hormones. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Okay? But if it cannot get inside the cell, then it becomes bad because that will be accumulated in the blood vessel walls. And that creates narrowing of the passage of blood. So that increases the pressure, and the next thing there is stroke.